The wind howled like a living beast outside the windows of the old coastal house. Trees bent and cracked under the force, and rain pounded against the roof in torrents. The lights flickered, but held. Jane sat alone in the living room, staring at the muted news on TV. The red ticker at the bottom flashed warnings. Hurricane Maria was making landfall, and it was worse than anyone expected. She'd never seen anything like this before, not in all her years living near the shore. She checked her phone. No new messages. Sam, her husband, had gone out earlier to help a neighbor board up windows and hadn't returned. That was hours ago. Her calls went unanswered, and now she couldn't even hear the phone ring over the storm's fury. The power cut out abruptly, plunging the house into darkness. Jane let out a sharp breath, standing up quickly. She reached for the flashlight she had left on the coffee table, but it was gone. Did I move it? She rummaged through the clutter, feeling along the surface with her hands until she found something smooth and cold. It was the flashlight, but when she clicked the button, nothing happened. No beam of light. The batteries were dead. A sharp crash from upstairs sent her heart racing, glass breaking. The wind whistled through what had to be a newly shattered window. "Sam?" she called out instinctively, knowing it was unlikely to be him. No response, just the roar of the hurricane and the eerie quiet within the house. She fumbled for her phone again, using its faint glow to light her way. Slowly she crept toward the stairs, each creak of the floorboards adding to her growing sense of dread. The air in the house felt colder now, far colder than it should have been, like the storm itself was creeping in. Reaching the top of the stairs, Jane paused. The long hallway stretched out before her, lined with shadows that seemed to shift in the dim light of her phone. Something was wrong. She had always hated this hallway. It felt too narrow, too long, as if it could swallow a person whole. The door to the guest room was ajar, and Jane's breath hitched. The window in that room was the most vulnerable, and Sam had insisted on fixing it himself earlier. Was that where the sound came from? She stepped forward, calling out once more, "Sam, are you up here?" The door creaked wider as she approached, but no one answered. The wind shrieked through the house, filling it with unnatural noises. A cold draft brushed against her cheek as she stepped inside the room. The window had indeed shattered, shards of glass scattered across the floor, rain pouring in from the gaping hole. Jane's heart sank, her eyes scanning the room in desperation. But then she saw something that made her blood freeze. Wet footprints, bare, human-like prints, leading from the window to the closet. "He's hiding in there," she thought. "He must have come in to take cover from the storm." She hurried to the closet, pulling the door open with shaky hands. But it was empty. The prints, they stop here. Her pulse quickened. Where could he have gone? The window? No, it didn't make sense. The storm was too strong. Suddenly there was a low thud from downstairs, followed by the unmistakable creak of the front door opening. Jane spun around, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She rushed back to the hallway and peered down the stairs. The door was wide open, wind and rain pouring into the house. Something moved in the entryway, a dark, hunched figure. "Sam?" she called, her voice trembling. The figure didn't respond. It moved slowly, almost deliberately, stepping fully into the house, silhouetted against the flashes of lightning. It was too tall to be her husband, too gaunt. A terrible chill gripped her as the figure stopped, its head turning slowly toward her. Lightning flashed again, illuminating its face. It wasn't Sam. Its skin was pale and glistening, like it had been submerged underwater for far too long. Its eyes were black pits, and its mouth hung open, revealing rows of jagged, broken teeth. Water dripped from its body, pooling on the floor beneath it. Jane stumbled back, her scream catching in her throat. She bolted into the nearest bedroom and slammed the door shut, locking it. Her mind raced. What was that thing? Was it something the storm had brought in? She heard it moving down the hall, its wet feet squelching with every step. It stopped outside the door. Jane backed away, pressing herself against the far wall, her phone shaking in her hand. She stared at the door, waiting. The storm outside raged on, but inside it was unnervingly quiet. Then came the scratching. Long, deliberate scratches against the wood, as if the thing was testing it. Jane clamped a hand over her mouth, trying not to make a sound, but her breathing was too loud, too frantic. The doorknob rattled, and then, slowly, it began to turn. "Please, no," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. The door swung open, revealing the empty hallway. Jane blinked, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. It was gone. The creature had disappeared. Cautiously, she stepped forward, peeking out into the hallway. Nothing. Suddenly, a hand clamped down on her shoulder, cold and clammy. Jane screamed and turned. But it wasn't the creature. It was Sam, soaking wet, pale, but alive. "Jane, thank God," he gasped, pulling her close. "I got trapped outside when the storm hit. I'm okay now. We're okay." Relief flooded her body, but it was fleeting. Over Sam's shoulder, she saw something else, another set of wet footprints leading from the front door into the house. And they weren't alone.
Like, follow, and share for more.